And it's time right now for another edition of our Book Talk show. And joining us, as she does just about every Friday, is Elena from Napa Book Mine. And you've got a really cool-looking event coming up this weekend.
We do, yes. I'm really excited about this one. This is a new anthology from the writing group Right On Mamas. This one is called She's Got This. They're locally based, but they're kind of throughout the whole North Bay. And it's a group of mostly women, mostly mothers, and they write with each other. And it's a really awesome group. They are having a book launch event at our Pearl Street shop on Sunday. That's the 24th at 1 o'clock. To launch this newest endeavor. Boldly and unapologetically told, the essays featured in this powerful collection exemplify strength and resilience as these writers, published authors, as well as fresh voices take their truths public. So with hope, humor, and determination, these stories tackle love, loss, friendship, identity, and parenthood. She's Got This as their anthem, one that will resonate with women everywhere. I'm going to give a quick rundown of the 6 authors who will be speaking at this. You might recognize one or two of their names. Vicki Bjarman has worked 30 years in the book publishing industry as a publisher and a bookseller, and is currently an event producer. She writes fiction and essays as well. Claire Hennessy is endlessly editing her humorous memoir about how she and her first boyfriend reunited after not seeing each other for 30 years. And she is a founding member of Right On Mamas. She's also performed her work at the Lit Quake and Lit Crawl in San Francisco. Sherry Hoffman lives in Benicia. She left her corporate job because it depleted her soul, and now she writes about the ridiculous, the mundane, and the bittersweet of life. And she was a cast member of the 2015 Listen to Your Mother and a speaker in her workshop series about boundaries. Christina Julian is a wine and food columnist, a novelist, and a mama to twins. Her writing has appeared in The Chronicle, Wine Enthusiast, Bohemian, North Bay Biz, and Beyond, and her debut novel, The Dating Vendor, was a 2017 Best Book Awards finalist, and she's currently working on 2 picture books. Terry Stevens is the current president and another founding member of Right On Mamas. She was selected to participate in the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators 2018 Mentor Program, and is currently revising a middle grade mystery. She also writes for Napa's Marketplace magazine. And then Rena Folletti is a writer and teacher with an MFA in creative writing and an MA and PhD in art history. She writes memoir, poetry, creative nonfiction, and about California environmentalist history. And her most recent exhibit, she's also an art curator, was Art Responds to Wine Country Fires, which is a 1-year invitational anniversary to the 2017 Napa Sonoma fires, from which she and her family were long-term evacuees. So if you recognize any of those names, or even if you don't, I hope you'll join us on Sunday at the Pearl Street shop at 1 to celebrate this wonderful collection of women writers. There will be snacks and wine as well.
Really sounds great. Let's jump right into what's next on today's show. And we're talking about an interesting nonfiction book here. This is timely.
It is. So it's the last Friday of Black History Month, so I wanted to, again, talk about a couple of books along that theme. This first book is called Separate, The Story of Plessy versus Ferguson, An American Journey from Slavery to Segregation by Steve Luxenberg. Most of us know the name Plessy versus Ferguson. I know I learned about it in AP US history, but probably we haven't heard much about it since high school, or maybe college if you majored in American history. This is a myth-shattering narrative of how a nation embraced separation and its pernicious consequences. Now, if you're scratching your head and trying to think, what do I know that name from? Plessy versus Ferguson was the Supreme Court case that became synonymous with separate but equal. It created remarkably little stir when the justices announced their near-unanimous decision on May 18, 1896. Yet it is one of the most compelling and dramatic stories of the 19th century whose outcomes embraced and protected segregation and whose reverberations are still felt now. Separate spans a striking range of characters and landscapes bound together by the defining issues of their time and ours, race and equality. Wending its way through a half-century of American history, the narrative begins at the dawn of the railroad age in the North, home to the nation's first separate railroad car, then moved briskly through slavery and Civil War to Reconstruction and its aftermath, as separation took root in nearly every aspect of American life. Award-winning author Steve Luxenberg wrote some letters, diaries, and archival collections to tell the story of Husky versus Ferguson through the eyes of the people who were caught up in the case. It depicts indelible figures such as the resistors from the mixed-race community of French New Orleans, led by Louis Martinet, a lawyer and crusading newspaper editor, Homer Plessy's lawyer Albion Touaget, a best-selling author and the country's best-known white advocate for civil rights, Justice Henry Billings Brown from anti-slavery New England, whose majority ruling endorsed separation, and Justice John Harlan, the Southerner from a slaveholding family whose singular descent cemented his reputation as a steadfast voice for justice. Sweeping, swiftly paced, and richly detailed, Separate provides a fresh and urgently needed exploration of our nation's most devastating divide. So that is the nonfiction I wanted to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
The fiction I wanted to talk about for Black History Month. This just came out, or maybe it's coming out next week. No, I think it's out right now. Claudia Rankine wrote Citizen, an American Lyric, which was a long-form poetry book that came out a couple of years ago. It was a poetry book club pick at our bookstore, and everybody who read it was incredibly impressed with it. And her new book is a play. It's called The White Card, and it's a play about the imagined fault line between black and white lives. What she said about it is that The White Card stages a conversation that is both informed and derailed by the black-white American drama. The scenes in this monarch play, for all the characters' disagreements, stalemates, and seeming impasses, explore what happens if one is willing to stay in the room when it is painful to bear the pressure to listen and the obligation to respond. This is her first published play and poses the essential question of, can American society progress if whiteness remains invisible? It's composed in two scenes. The play opens with a dinner party thrown by Virginia and Charles, who are an influential Manhattan couple, for the up-and-coming artist Charlotte. Their conversation about art and representations of race spirals toward the devastation of Virginia and Charles's intentions. And then 1 year later, the second scene brings Charles and Charlotte into the artist studio, and their confrontation raises both the stakes and the questions of what and who is actually on display. This is a moving and revelatory distillation of racial divisions as experienced in the white spaces of the living room, the art gallery, the theater, the imagination. Two of our booksellers have read this so far. Naomi read it, and then our Oxford bookseller Mariah read it. Both really, really loved it. Naomi said she's never tried to read a play before, beyond Shakespeare that we're all expected to read in high school, and that she was just totally drawn in by it. Mariah just thought it was incredible. She says, even with the best of intentions, we often fall short of our intended goal. We may desire to be one thing and allow that desire to blind us to who we really are or why we're really doing something. What at first may seem a group of people with the right intentions who are a little too hard on each other turns into the revelation of underlying racism in an already racially tense setting. So both of them really loved it. More of us at the bookstore are on the list waiting to read it. And if you've never read a play before, maybe this is a good entry point because it's very timely. So it's White Card, a play by Claudia Rankine.
I can't imagine having never read a play before. That's just foreign to me. Okay. Moving on, cooking and wine time?
Cooking and wine time. So this isn't really a cookbook. It's a journal. It's called A Work in Progress. It's by Rene Redzepi. And if you haven't heard of him, he's the guy who founded Noma, which was the best restaurant in the world for 3 years running. He's not really, he was never small potatoes. He's always been pretty famous, but he's having a moment in the book world right now. There was a recent cookbook called The Noma Guide to Fermentation that came out just before the holidays. It was super popular, and now this journal just came out. This is the journal that he kept during the third consecutive year that his restaurant was voted best in the world, and it was 2012, and he called it the worst year of his life. He was burnt out and distressed, the restaurant needed renovation, so he took a month vacation and started this journal. What this is originally part of Rene Redzepi, a work in progress, which comprised the journal, the recipe book, and the photo album, and was pretty pricey. This is a new standalone hardcover edition that's much less expensive. It includes the complete journal along with a selection of 20 recipes he developed that year and 30 color photographs from the album. He closed Noma at the end of 2016, but reopened a revamped version in 2018. A work in progress is a highly personal document of the creative processes at Noma and the challenges faced by its chefs over a 12-month period. He made a resolution to keep the journal and dedicate a year to the creativity and well-being of Noma. The result is an unusually candid and often humorous insight into the inner workings of one of the food world's most creative minds. So if you have the Noma cookbook or the guide to fermentation and you're looking to get a little deeper into how he comes up with this stuff, a work in progress is a really fun addition to your Rene Redzepi collection.
All right, then. And last but, of course, not least, something for the kids.
Someone for the kids. So I just read this. It is so much fun. It's called Ronan, Boyle, and the Bridge of Riddles by Thomas Lennon. Some of you might recognize this actor's name. If you don't, you would probably recognize him if you saw a picture. He's known for comedy. He co-starred in the TV show Reno 911 and one of my favorite comedies, 17 Again. So it's no surprise that this middle grade novel is just really funny and really, really fun. Ronan Boyle is an Irish teenager with an awful lot on his plate. His parents are currently in jail for the crime of selling the Bogman, an ancient artifact they had no right to sell. Ronan, though, doesn't believe for an instant that his parents are guilty and places the blame on an obsequious antique dealer whose testimony sealed their fate. He decides to apply for an internship with the Irish police so he can get closer to the case and clear his parents' name. He's skinny, he's nearsighted, he's super allergic to a bunch of things. So it comes as quite a surprise when he's called out to an abandoned castle to help with a mysterious case. Turns out, leprechauns are real, and they are just absolutely vile creatures. Other members of the legendary wee folk are real too, banshees, unicorns, all of that, and there's a secret police force tasked with policing them and their interactions with humans. This is told in the form of a long diary entry as we learn about the wee folk along with Ronan as he joins this police force and shows some promising skill among its ranks, all while still working on his parents' case. This is written for a 10 to 14-year-old. This book is just a lot of fun. I mean, I'm an adult. I really enjoyed reading it. It's very funny. His voice is precocious and self-deprecating. Readers will laugh at all the right moments. I'd say this is a great next read for kids who love the Mysterious Benedict Society or the Percy Jackson books. It's a little bit more mature in terms of content, but the writing is still super fun, really engaging, and it's a series. And I can tell you, having finished the first one, that I already can't wait for number 2.
All
so
right.
Ronan Boyle and the Bridge of Riddles by Thomas Lennon.
That's a solid review. And Elena from Napa Book Mine, our guest for the Book Talk Show, thank you. And where can we find you?
We are at 964 Pearl Street and inside the Oxbow Market.
Thanks. Have a great weekend, okay?
Thank you.
All righty. And that's all for Book Talk. Up next, it's time to check our events calendar. We'll find out what the heck is going on with Julie Morales after this.
Vincent Luigi here from Mary's Pizza Shack.